Good morning, colleagues. We'll begin shortly. Seems that we are a quorum, and I would like to request that officials move a bit closer. And also there is some changes that maybe some officials may not be aware of name tagging. So if someone is appearing before us or is joining our meeting and may also then be participating in the meeting, we need a name tag from time to time to reflect. Secondly, the changes also included putting the committee members on one side and the officials on the other. But we'll then be able to start shortly. Colleagues, welcome to today's meeting. We are indeed a quorum, and today's date is the 7th of July. The 7th of November 2025. My apology, I'm using frontline calendar. We begin shortly. Thank you, colleagues. The meeting does indeed reach quorum. We are also encouraging all the participants in today's meeting, committee members and officials, to make sure that they sign the register, because if the register is not signed, you will be marked as absent on the minutes of the meeting. So please assist us with that process. We'll open the meeting with a prayer or meditation. So if we can just take a minute in silence for prayer or meditation. Thank you. We'll move on to the agenda, item number 2. The agenda has been uploaded on SharePoint, and today we do not have confidential reports, except the confidential minutes that will be dealt with at the end of the meeting, towards the tail end of the meeting. We are now on agenda item number 2, which is the application of leave of absence. We've received the apologies of COO Vuyo, Zitumani, then Advocate Andisha, is a GH within CSOP. Those are the 2 apologies that we have received so far. Any other apologies? Okay. Deputy Chief Whip of Council.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I'm requesting to be excused at around 1:30 for my engagement at 2. If the meeting goes beyond 3, I will come back and rejoin the meeting at 3.
Duly noted. Thank you. There was another hand, Councillor Sepo.
Thanks a lot, Chairperson. Even mine, I'll leave. I think I'll try to stay until 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock. I'll try my level best. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Yes, Councillor Omsela.
Thank you, Chairperson. In case we conclude the meeting after 1, where 4 of us from the DA would like to be excused at 1 o'clock to attend the memorial service of one of our former councillor, David Ferguson. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mabusela. Yes, no, indeed, the apologies are noted, and soul of Mr. David Ferguson rest in peace. It is really sad that we got to lose one of our committee members in this manner. Okay, so colleagues, we will then move on because today's agenda is not that long. I believe that we should be done around that time. Councillor Peter.
Chair, my humble apology, and I don't want to interfere with your agenda, but we don't have an item for announcements. And Chair, I think it will just be prudent for us to give our respects to Councillor David Farquharson, who was a member of this caucus. He was at our last impact meeting. He did battle with his health. We knew that, and I remember we had a caucus in preparation for our last meeting, and Councillor David had a major power outage in his ward, and he couldn't attend that caucus, and that's sadly the last communication we as colleagues also had from him in this committee on that, and obviously then on the day that we were here. But he was a stalwart. I think over the last couple of years he's proven himself to be very knowledgeable when it came to the legislation and the circulars. I think we can all acknowledge that. He was a great asset to us in this party, and he enjoyed Impact, and he enjoyed his role that he was playing on Impact, and for the work that he did, for the work that we did as a committee and that he was part of. But I also know that he was a person that worked very well with the other opposition parties as well, and other political parties, not opposition parties, my apology, the other political parties, and also with the officials. And he was a man that I think a lot of people had respect for. So he will be dearly missed in this committee, and we will have his remembrance service this afternoon. But I think, Chair, if I may ask you if we can maybe just have a minute of silence for a final departure for Councillor Farquharson, I'll appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Councillor Peter. I think what we then can do in this agenda item is that we can give other parties that may want to pay their respects the 3 minutes or so to just go through that, and then we can then do a moment of silence shortly after. Then we can commence with the remainder of the agenda, if it's acceptable by the committee members. Thank you very much. So I can see we have not gotten the Freedom Front yet, but we do have Action SA and the ANC. So we'll start with the ANC.
Thanks a lot, Chairperson. It was really sad hearing of the news of the passing of our colleague. I remember our debates on regular expenditure. I'm smiling not because of I take lightly what has happened. I'm remembering the beautiful memories we had in the engagement. We must recover, and it was always nice engaging and holding hands and caucuses. We always found each other from different backgrounds and different beliefs, but we could relate from council. Those were comrades that I knew that we could engage and find each other whenever the needs arise, and it's a great loss to the committee, and it is always a pleasure when you call caucuses. We know we'll find each other and always have direction, and we always have the goodness of Impact performing at heart, and will greatly be remembered by the ANC caucus. It was one of us. We felt the pain. We called each other. We were like, wow, what's happening now? But we may the DA caucus and the family and everybody who believed in him be comforted, and the community of Tshwane at large who watch us on Impact all the time. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Councillor Tseko. Councillor Matlou, Action SA.
Good morning, Chairperson. Sorry, Action SA caucus really. note this passing of Councillor Ferguson, very sadness. He was a very contributive member of this committee, and we are sad really to have lost such a good colleague in terms of the committee. But may his soul rest in peace. The peace should go to the family as well. Really, they should come to terms with his passing and be assured that his soul has rest in peace. Thank you, Chairperson. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I also got a note here that Councillor Mayor from Freedom Front is running late, but will be joining us shortly. But indeed, colleagues, we have lost one of our own men who has served at all material times, who never took matters personal or politicized matters that needed not to be politicized. We've worked well with him. He was always looking forward to MPEC meetings. He would call you. He would check on progress on issues, follow up. He was forever punctual in meetings. And I think he's going to be dearly missed in this committee. I think the community of Ward 57 would like to send our heartfelt condolences to that community, the GA, which is the party of origin, that indeed we have lost a person that was dedicated to service delivery as a ward councillor there. So we do understand the impact of the loss, and it will be felt by the committee. So, colleagues, without wasting more time, I'd like to request that we have a moment of silence in honor of Mr. Ferguson, and I would like to also request that we rise in that process. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, colleagues. We are now done with the application of leaves of absence. The procedure still stands that you are encouraged to sign the register, and then also there is a leave policy for councillors, so they are able to submit your leave application 3 days after or 24 hours before. 48 hours before, my apology, as per the leave policy of the council. Then, of course, you have your reporting lines for the officials through the CM and your immediate supervisors and so on. We shall then commence and proceed to agenda item number 3, which is the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. So, colleagues, okay, maybe if I go there, Councillor Rodney. No, so Councillor something.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, in terms of the minutes, Chair, I'm marked absent in the minutes. I was on sick leave, Chair. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Councillor something. Was not absent. Thank you. It shall be rectified as such. I think also for better capturing sometimes, if then the caucus is able to let us know while in the meeting, then we avoid the loophole of relying on the office of the chief whip for that. So we can streamline things a bit better, but we do note that then it shall be corrected as such. The minutes were uploaded on SharePoint, and then the confidential minutes were circulated. The confidential minutes are not going to be dealt with now, but at the tail end of our meeting, and it will not be strict as per the norm. So is there any other changes apart from the concern raised by Councillor Singh? Comments? Inputs? As recommended. Thank you. Thank you, colleagues. We will go to matters arising from previous minutes of the committee. Are there any matters arising? Okay, since not, we have got item number 5, which is the standing matters. Number 5.1, which is Municipal Public Accounts Committee Process Plan for 2025-2026 financial year. The process plan is found on page 5 to page 22. The process plan is before you, colleagues. Let us engage on the process plan if there's any changes, if there are any problems that we foresee, or meetings that we've missed that affect the process plan. I will start with Councillor Municipal.
No, thank you, Chair. It's not necessarily in the process plan, but they are related. If I'm out of order, you can call me out of order. But we received 3 letters from the Secretariat with regard to the request for the extension of 3 reports. The one that I still recall is the report in relation from group property from Hazelwood in terms of those businesses there. And the other one from Environment Department, and they requested extension because they are saying they are still consolidating the information. But in those letters, Chair, our concern is that they don't indicate in terms of timeline as to when this extension is going to be completed or concluded. So perhaps when we were engaging those letters, we thought maybe it will be prudent to write back to them to ask as to for how many months or how many days they will be concluded with the information so that we can know exactly as to for how far we are granting that extension. So our request is that let's write back and request as to when they're going to be able to conclude.
Yeah, so maybe, Councillor, maybe what we can do, because we've got 5.1 and 5.2. So under 5.2, we can always delve on that issue because it seems like it's an outstanding report. 2 concerns we have from the floor or from just observing the process plan would be that we had to postpone the presentations that had to take place on the 24th, if I'm not mistaken, of last month. Because there was an imbizo of councillors provincially. That does affect the process plan. Then number 2 is that according to the council calendar, we're going to be on recess up until the 9th of January. And the meeting is on the 9th of January, the next meeting of the committee. So those are the 2 specific issues that I've picked up that they need to be addressed by this committee. And then what we can do from what you've submitted, Councillor Mabisela, then we'll deal with outstanding reports, of course. course, and then resolve on that. Similar concerns that I did note on my side, because we cannot grant an extension without understanding the time frame thereof. I think that the report was requested by Councillor Tsela, if I'm not mistaken. It then is a concern. So we are here, colleagues. We need to start working on the next ordinary meeting of MPEC. Are we comfortable to come on the 9th, or do we want to consider a different date? Councillor Peter.
Chair, thank you. I think from the DA's position, it's not about whether we're comfortable or not. It's, if we have the meeting on the 9th, the documents and the reports will have to be circulated in December or on the 2nd of January. And I think the most important part we have to ask, Chair, is will we have our reports in time? Will the officials be available? And can we continue with that meeting? I think that's the important part for us to determine that, because it will be, it's not about being comfortable or not, it's about getting here and being able to do what we need to do. And I think that's, we need to clarify that, please, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Peter. Councillor Esther, your hand was up. May I proceed? I'll come to the CM quickly, or MSO. Okay, thank you. Yes, Councillor Esther, proceed.
I would prefer us to be realistic on the dates of the 9th. It will be also school opening and school preparations, so if we can get an alternative date on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I did not get a suggestion of a date from Councillor Peter. Thank you. I don't know the GH, the Office of the Speaker, she did note that maybe also Mr. Gardner will do that. So the proposal on the table is the 16th, which is a week after the 9th, which is the Friday thereof. I could see on the council calendar that only Rules and Ethics is sitting on the day in question. So it may be workable. The concern is that we have a concern of the staff, because if we push it for the 9th, there is a very high possibility that a lot of staff members will still be on leave, and we may have a problem. Now the question is whether the 16th can work. If the 16th can work, are we going to be able to get the reports loaded on time so we're able to run an effective and productive committee meeting? So maybe MSO, yeah, thank you.
Chair, thanks. The first one on the reports, where there are requests for those extensions, what is indicated in terms of those extensions, they will vary because it will be on the basis that the department will be ready at the time of making that submission. So if you look at them, they will indicate timelines. For example, the one that speaks to environment and agriculture, that report will be ready in January. It has been indicated. It's just to preface the questions that was earlier asked on the fact that there are no timelines on the request. So it will be in different departments simply because the report would not be ready at the same time. I think the other point I wanted to mention was just that there would not be a vacuum chair. If meetings are scheduled, suppose if they are to be presented to MPEC, there will be officials available for those presentations to be made. There is no instance where there will be schools open or not reopen. We do have all acting arrangements in terms of officials that are not available. Thanks.
Okay, so in short, you are comfortable with the 16th, even the 9th. Okay. All right. So, okay, Councillor Zilla, just on the process plan, the outstanding reports will deal with them.
Oh,
Yeah, we're just on the process plan for now.
on the future.
Yes. The other points will attend to them on number 5 too. All right. So, from the committee members, the 16th, the NC caucus, are we comfortable with the 16th? Okay, thank you. There is also a proposal that the Friday after the 16th is the 23rd, that we consider having the hearings that were postponed on that particular Friday. They're just hearings, you know, nothing extraordinary, according to. Okay, the DA is comfortable. Sorry, actually, say you must not say that we are overlooking you there. Are you comfortable with both the 16th and the 23rd?
No, I agree and we are comfortable.
Thank you, NC caucus. We are comfortable. Thank you. So, colleagues, then we shall correct the process plan as such that the hearings that were supposed to be held on the 24th of September will now be held on the 23rd of January 2026, and then the next ordinary MPEG meeting will then be on the 16th of January 2026. Right? Since everyone is comfortable. Thanks. Right, so as recommended, thank you. We'll then move to 5.2, which is MPEG on standing reports. And this is, of course, for today's date, or as of today's date, which is the 7th of November 2025. The report is found on page 23 to page 27. I think that's where now Councillor Mabusela's inputs come in relation to the postponement, in relation to the report that was requested by Councillor Tsela. I don't know if you wish to repeat yourself, but I think we have good memory. But you can just add on what, because I did stop you at some point. We're able to do that, and then we move quickly because we don't have time, unfortunately, today. Yes, Councillor.
That's true, Chair. There are only two. The first one is from Group Legal and Secretariat. There's no date there. They are just saying they are requesting to submit it or to serve it in the next MPEG meeting. I'm not sure which one, of January or February or November. The report is in relation to a comprehensive breakdown of all cases brought against the City of Tshwane, including financial implications, outcomes, and government failures. So they requested the extension chair that need to serve in the next MPEG meeting. So we are humbly asking as to which date it will be suitable for the next MPEG meeting. The second one is the one that was called by Councillor Tsela. In fact, it was even called long time ago. Councillor Marishan and Councillor, they will recall. Long time ago, this report had been called. Is Councillor Tsela calling it again for now? So the one of Hazelwood under the group property. If they can also mention as to when is going to be available in relation to their request for the extension. It will be of assistance, Chairperson. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Councillor Tsela, I think your hand was up for a related matter, if I'm not mistaken.
No, thanks, Chair. Chair, we received emails asking for an extension, but it doesn't specify when are we getting the report, because they've been asking for extensions for a long time, and we are eager, we're still waiting for this report. So can we get clarity on when are we getting this report? Because people can't ask for extensions without telling us we are going to get this report on this day, because we can't just call reports without the reason. Sure, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know, councillors who are comfortable, right? MSO?
Thanks, Chair. Through you, just to make a commitment that that report will serve on the 16th of January.
Right. Thank you very much. So I think the issue here is that, and the report you are referring to is the report, is the latter submission of Councillor Mabusela. Okay. Are you fine, Councillor Mabusela? Okay. So the issue is that whenever, okay, let's go.
Chair, maybe just to get clarity, is it only one report? Is the same report that we are talking about, me and Councillor Mabusela, or there's another report? Because I get confused. There are two. So which one is going to serve on the 16th of January, if there are two? Because I've requested a report and I don't know. Oh, okay. No, thanks. No, thanks. Thanks. I got clarity. The one for Hazelwood. Okay.
Yeah, I think the long and short, colleagues, is that whenever we request a report and you need an extension, there may be different reasons why you want an extension, but then it would assist the process if you're able to tell us up until when. So we can be at ease that by granting this extension, we know that it will work within the reasonable time frame that we believe is reasonable for you to submit the report. I think that's just the long and short of it. But Councillor Tsepo?
Chairperson, I'm scared a bit though, because I don't want to open a precedent that can be abused in the future. That whenever we're expecting reports and people are not comfortable, they just write you emails. And I feel like that's setting a precedent of going outside agreements of this meeting. And it will catch up with us someday, that whenever people are not comfortable or they want to buy time or whatever is happening, and sometimes if we want a report by October, we know what will be happening by December. If we don't deal with the report, then people might just give us report whenever they feel. They know that day before they just write emails and say, I'm asking for what principle do we have in place? Who approves? Do you have the right to say no, Chairperson? Or is it I'm just writing an email notifying you? Are they just notifying us that we can't bring it? And in January, we have another email that we're still not yet ready. And that creates a problem and a loophole. And I want your indulgence on that one. What process is in place? Or what rights do we have? In saying, do we have the right to say no, you want it now? Or what? How's the arrangement? It seems too informal for my liking. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks. So the issue of extension, of course, we do understand its impact to the council or the committee as it may. It's also not an automatic thing, but at the end of the day, it's a courtesy so that we are on the loop. Because again, if you just go quiet on us, then we're going to ask questions, then it's not going to be collegial or be interpreted as being collegial as it may. But we of course cannot encourage continuous request of extensions. And I think we'll pick it up. So if a report, someone has requested an extension in this MPEC committee meeting, and then the next MPEC committee meeting, and then the other committee meeting, then of course we'll pick it up and then start to ask relevant questions where needs be. But again, it's something that from time to time we'll have to entertain and try and discourage whenever we believe that there is an excessive number of requests from a specific department on a particular report or reports in general. And then if we believe that is unreasonable, then of course we'll take steps against the relevant officials in question. We also have a problem. I mean, we had a report or a report that we had requested from TMPD on the impounding or the pound, as it may, here on Madiba Street, where it is believed that a lot of money is being lost because of non-registration of vehicles that have been impounded, and people who are taking vehicles in and out of the pound and soliciting money from the drivers and motorists, as it may. And then my office did receive the report, but it was late for the report to serve. But also there is other extensions that have been requested some months ago, as just a general reflection. And those extensions, you would think that then people will be ready with those reports. But I think we'll continue to follow up with all the departments so that we do actually get the reports timeously, so that we are able to dispose of the matters. Then continue, but I think then we cannot encourage such. I don't know if there's any other comments on the outstanding reports, colleagues. Okay, Councillor Emerson.
Chair, maybe just for us to have that sense of comfort and be able to continue and in future manage this situation, my advice would then be, let's have a checklist document starting from your first day as the chair of this committee. I don't want to go far. Just starting from your first day. And you will see what we are talking about in as far as impact on this committee. And also watch the space. You will see going forward what will be happening in the last 12 months of this term. So let's produce that checklist starting from January. We monitor it on a quarterly basis. You will see the amount of impact that this thing of delaying reports and so on and so forth. And this also goes in relation to the willy-nilly of bringing items because they suit whoever that they suit in as supplementary into our agenda and so on and so forth. So, but on this one of reports that we are requesting, on every meeting, let's keep a checklist register. You will see on a quarterly basis what happens to this issue of reports not being submitted either on time or not willing to bring those reports forward. And then we'll be able to do our work as we're supposed to do the work. One councillor is indicating that at some point we must insist on these reports. These reports are there, some of them. It's just delays in terms of them being brought forward for us to be able to do our work. So let's have that checklist and so that we can be able to follow up on these reports and monitor the situation.
Yeah, no, thank you, Councillor Marjan. So, there should be a way of closing the agenda item before us. So the way you are putting it, I don't know if you want something in particular to be noted by the Secretariat so that they can cover the parameters of your submission, or how do you want us to deal with it now? Okay, but we shall observe this issue of request for extensions, then treat it with the necessary question going forward. Thank you. Then we'll move to item 6, which is matters for consideration. So this item 6 has about 5 reports, and I have a plea that we deal with report number 1 at the tail end of our meeting, and then we can start with report number 2 on the main agenda. Report number 2 is from Group Financial Services, Local Government, Municipal Financial Management Act 2003, Act number 56 of 2003, in-year financial report, monthly budget statement for the period ending 31st of August 2025. The report is found on page 97 to page 133 with recommendations on page 102. Is there any comments, colleagues? Oh, sorry, Councillor, I couldn't see you. Yes, Councillor Randa.
Thank you, Chairperson. With regards to the August report, I see the next one is September, but let's just zoom in on August. We note that the Metro is really under pressure in terms of the operating revenue, 324.8 million lower than the year-to-date budget. So that is a concern that I just wanted to highlight. Even in terms of your cash equivalents and investment, the end of August, 2.8 billion, that is including your unspent grants. Chair, and then a matter that's been coming along, maybe an impact, but also the time that I was on finance, is the migration from the old SAP system to the new SAP for HANA is still in process, and that gaps were identified. So now, one would hope that the target date of according to the CFO, July 2026, is still in sight, is still a reality, because we really cannot continue with this kind of reporting. It does open up, instances where if you look under material variance explanations, I'm going to use one example, exchange revenue for service charges on waste management. Now, the revenue was lower than projection, mainly on bulk containers, due to a positive amount being incorrectly posted. They are currently investigating this. Now, Chair, how do we believe these figures? We noted the CFO's memo a day before yesterday, where more than 11,000 residents have been overcharged. And now, sorry, just an apology, it's a system error. We will correct it and you will get your money back. The way that we are dealing with the finances of the city is slowly but surely eroding the trust that our residents has in the city. We cannot continue, and we need systems and this SAP for HANA to be operational and to prevent. We cannot do this and try and think we can have the respect and trust of our residents, not even from us as an oversight committee. I would like to know if there was any remedial or corrective steps proposed by the accounting officer or the city manager, especially with regards to operating revenue, and how the funding plan has kept up with this shortfall that has been indicated in the August report. The last question from my side, there were delays in processing journals for Tswane House leases. I just wanted to know whether that was addressed. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. That was quite a loaded submission. I think let's deal with it first, and then we can come second round, Councillor Tsapo. We don't want to load too many questions and so on. CFO?
Chair, thank you so much. Greetings to yourself and all members of MPEC, as well as the city manager and my colleagues. Indeed, Chair, I think we take note of the comments raised by the member. We, however, want to give confidence to the committee at large that from a revenue perspective at this stage, yes, we were sitting at a 3% shortcoming. But I think you'll take note in the next report that will be coming, tabling the September results, where it had eroded this deficit by 2 percentage basis points. We're actually sitting at a 1% shortcoming now. This is a demonstration, Chair, that the systems that we're putting in place to put a recovery mechanism on revenue collection is slowly yielding positive results. I think further to that, the credibility of the systems that we did put in place is further strengthened by our collections for the month of October. Yes, it is recent results, but I think it's critical for MPEC to take note of that. For the first time, Chair, we managed to collect in excess of 4.1 billion rand actual cash in the city's bank accounts. This is also a critical sign that gives confidence that our revenue-generating machinery institutionally has been strengthened and is yielding positive results. Chair, I want to comment quickly on S4HANA and the migration thereof. I think the systems that you put on board are there particularly to migrate your components which are not yet migrated on S4HANA, like your billing and your payroll. We do have a long-term plan in place that we've agreed between ourselves and shared services, but it is currently under implementation. We're happy with the errors that we're picking up, Chair, because it strengthens the internal controls and our ability to correct these mechanisms before we get to quarterly results, midterm results, and final year results for annual financial statements. So these are positive signs because it does give an indication that the systems that we have are strong to pick up deficiencies, and we're able to correct that ahead of time. Hence, I can give confidence that the figures that you're presenting are credible, Honourable Councillor, and it does demonstrate a picture that the migration that we have on S4HANA and the old ECC6 is working at this present. Also, Chair, just to give further guidance, internal controls that we have a daily S4HANA engagements purely aimed at addressing stumbling block glitches of this nature. A number of them will not even come forth at month end because we're able to resolve them at that place. On the city cleansing levy, I think we are aware that the city has got in excess of 900,000 clients. 11,156 roughly were affected by the issue of the city cleansing levy. And just to take our colleagues and members of MPEC a bit back, the city implemented the city cleansing levy from the 1st of July. We were then opposed, and the High Court deemed it invalid. We had to remove those. Whilst removing that process in place in the city doing due diligence, after our appeal to the Supreme Court of Appeal, we had to then bring it back. That's when the error occurred. And Chair, I'm not saying it's insignificant. It is critical. One error is one too many. We don't condone that. Hence, the system that we put on board to try and immediately deal with these mechanisms. In terms of the communication that we've issued to various of our client holders, it's our goal to be transparent and to be accountable to all communities, Chair. We utilized the month of October to fully identify and to reverse those, and we are confident that in the month of November, these credits will be reflected on all our statement of account holders who are affected by this. So it does give us confidence that we are on top of these matters. Chair, we do note the fact that one error is one too many, and we still put systems in place to try and avoid it. From a funding plan perspective, Chair, because we have information, it's wise to keep MPEC up to date. As at the month of October, we can confirm that for 2 months in this financial year, for the first 4 months, we've been in a position to exceed the targets of the funding plan. Those months are July and October. Yes, for August and September, we fell marginally short in terms of the target. However, the systems that we put on board now, we're confident that before we get to the end of the second quarter, we should have effectively recovered thereof. Then lastly, in terms of the General Sotwani House, that has been rectified accordingly, Chair. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Randall, covered. Thank you. Councillor Tsepo's hand was up first, and then I will come through to you, gentlemen. Thank you. Councillor Tsepo?
Thanks a lot, Chairperson. Operational budgets are very tricky. I don't know that our responsible person for finances, how can we incorporate in our reporting, especially for the confidence of MPEC, the factors that changes our expenditure revenue? Because it might be less because of other integrations and other strategic planning, from procuring from outside, buying our own machines, sometimes investment in infrastructure that reduces the number of blockages and things like that. So I feel like there's a lot of depth in reporting these changes in capital expenditure. There might be too much sewer spillages in Harangua and use a lot of money. And suddenly some capital investment changes the conditions on the ground. So operational and capital expenditure are very tricky, but it's very much important that we are explicit in the reasons why the differences sometimes. Should we, to put my question right, should we have confidence that we're not going to have any material loss or failure to service delivery? Is the amount, this reduction in the amount from the previous less, does it reflect our inability to provide services? Will it be flagged as a material loss by the Auditor General later, or what? Should we just put us into confidence to say that even though we are saving money, it's not at the expense of service delivery? Should we be comforted as MPEC? Should we worry, or should we say that the strategic objectives of the city are in a way that we are able to save money, but we still continue to provide services? Where are we as a city? Thanks a lot.
Thank you. I think there's 3 hands, but I'm trying to avoid to have too many questions. Let's start with you, Councillor, and then we'll take the 2 hands afterwards for a different round. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, my question is, what are the risks for revenue and payroll information not being synchronized with the both systems? This is the ECC6 and the S4HANA. And what is currently being done to mitigate against such risks? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. CFO?
Thank you, Chair. So I think what we need to be mindful of is that we are dealing with the backlog in terms of the city's liabilities, both from a current and non-current perspective. Hence, our ability to build, I think, to strengthen our balance sheet from both the current and non-current assets is effective at this stage in time. So, to answer the question from Honorable Councillor Khatla is that, yes, in some instances, we have to prioritize building the balance sheet of the city. This has an impact and is demonstrated through the improvement in the current ratio, liquidity ratio, and cash flow and cash coverage ratio of the city. In terms of honoring our obligations, we are honoring them effectively on a monthly basis. This should further give confidence that service delivery is not eroded any further. Our ability to honor key obligations from what we consume from various stakeholders, inclusive of bulk service providers, our own employees, as well as implementation of CAPEX-related projects, should be an indication, Chair, that the city is moving towards the right direction. We can report that to these Section 71 reports that we are bringing on board in comparison to previous financial years, there's been a significant improvement in the city's current ratio. This, in short, tells you that the balance sheet of the city is slowly strengthening up, and we are able to cover more of the city's obligations, not only now, but in the long term as well. The ability to implement our CAPEX projects, I mean, we had 98.9% in terms of CAPEX expenditure previous cycle. This will have an impact in terms of assisting us to reduce OPEX-related costs from an O&M perspective, which is a match that we need to take into account. In terms of the number of projects that we have and we design them in terms of the business plans from conditional grants, bulk of them are assigned towards addressing issues of losses in terms of the PRV program that the city is writing from a water perspective, replacement of old AC pipes from the water business unit as well, allocated from USDG. This is an indication, Chair, that the CAPEX projects that we are assigning and we are implementing are an investment in the future as well. It will help us deal with the losses that we have. Similarly with electricity. So service delivery, there is some improvement in terms of the results and the ratio analysis that these reports are bringing on board. The last question from Honorable Councillor Semfeng in terms of payroll and revenue data. At present, whilst they're not on S4HANA, we are seamlessly integrating this. We will take into account that both ECC6 and S4HANA are both SAP-related systems. So it's an easy process for us to integrate data from ECC6 to S4HANA without compromising the validity and credibility of that data. So there are no adverse implications that we are seeing from this exercise. We have systems in place to certify the correctness of the information moving from ECC6 to S4HANA.
Thank you. Welcome, Councillor Mayor. We did receive your apology. Councillor Mabusela and then Councillor Peter. In that order, thank you.
No, thanks. Just to check with CFO, is the city still facing liquidity challenges? And if yes, then is the funding plan? Because in this Section 71 report, we have been told about the funding plan is still effective to deal with the issue of liquidity challenges. And secondly, Chair, is in relation to service charges. And I'm not sure whether we are fair to ask CFO to respond to service charges because they are not really under his department. Water, electricity, and waste. They've been persistently, Chairperson, unfavorable. And it seems that we don't have an improvement plan to deal with them. So we'd like to ask if I see in the in-year report of September, at least it has been changed, at least to favorable, especially electricity collection. But water and waste collection has been persistent in terms of under collection. Perhaps it's the issue of unaccounted water losses or unaccounted electricity losses. But we would like to hear the responses from the specific department that will oversee the functionality of these service charges, especially from water and sanitation and waste, as to what is the situation and what the city can do to improve the situation going forward. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Peter.
Chair, I just want to come back to the item that Councillor Randall raised about the 11,000 consumers that have been incorrectly billed, which has been put to us as a technical error. And there's much more to this, and I think there's a much bigger concern apart from the impact this has. It's chaos out there. And I think what's frustrating is that in most cases, ward councillors are left to fend for this, and we've seen very little actual corrections taking place on that. But we do need to understand, perhaps the CFO can just give us a little bit input as to what the plan is to avoid this going forward, because somebody amended our system incorrectly, a technical error. In other words, they did changes to our system, which was wrong, and it seems there was no protocol followed, there was no authority level sign off to that, nothing. Now that leaves us to be concerned that anybody can amend our system, or our system can easily be amended, our tariffs can be changed. There's a much far wider implication to this matter. So we've now established that we've identified the error. We've established that we are in process to correct this. But what I want to know is what protocols are being put in place to avoid this going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. I know appetite from you, CFO. Yes?
Thank you, Chair. I think the first question is in relation to the city recovering from a liquidity perspective. I think the straight answer to that is we are slowly moving towards getting the city back on its feet from a cash flow perspective. Chair, we're not yet out of the woods. Hence, our adoption of a funding plan, the revitalization of the city's financial recovery plan, and the number of stakeholder engagements that we have in terms of rebuilding the city's tax administration. So we are slowly moving towards getting the city's liquidity matters resolved. This is demonstrated by our ability to resolve the power utilities account. We have further eroded a further 200 million rand emanating from the arrears as per the debt repayment plan which has been signed between ourselves and the power utility. So the straight answer to that, Chair, is that we are working towards addressing the city's liquidity challenges. We are seeing the fruits and results of the funding plan and the city's revitalized financial recovery plan. So in short, that also covers question number 2, wherein the funding plan or its validity or effectiveness was questioned by the Honourable Council. As a result of our ability increasing to deal with all obligations, Chair, I can safely say the funding plan is yielding positive results. However, we must also take note that the funding plan is not an item that's cast in stone. It changes consistently in line with the changing environment as per the unique nature of the challenges that the city is facing. During the adjustment budget period, there are some shortcomings and mechanisms that we have picked up between the first 6 months, which will, of course, be making amendment thereof. But yes, Chair, the funding plan is yielding positive results. The numbers are speaking for themselves in terms of the increased revenue collection that we have as a City 1 and our ability to erode all obligations and arrears that we have faced. In terms of service charges, particularly with water, electricity, and waste, this is the sole reason why we had to start putting systems in place to break these up as business units. The focus of this, Chair, is to ensure that these become a value add towards the city's fiscus rather than relying on conditional grants similarly to other unfunded areas. The long-term plan of this is to institutionally get these independent business units running with various institutional arrangements. Currently, there are a number of SLAs that are signed between ourselves, the governance and support structures, with this business unit with the pure aim of trying to improve the institutional ability and capability of performing moving forward. We've seen significant recovery from electricity and waste, like we said, in the outer period in September. However, we are still monitoring this and ensuring that we are able to get these businesses running so that they become a contributor to the city's fiscus rather than also relying on conditional grants. Last, Chair, in terms of the city cleansing levy, yes, we have put in place systems with the business unit of waste and agriculture management. The plan for this is to ensure that these issues don't repeat themselves in the near future. At present, yes, we are unaware.
If you may pause a bit, Councillor Marshall. Chair, thank you very much. My apologies for interjecting. The last time when I left my LLB class, the lecturer was explaining a sub judice. And then as far as I'm concerned, the matter is still in court about the cleansing levy issue. And advisably, I think it will be very advisable for us not to engage on the aspect of the cleansing levy until such time that the court has resolved on the matter.
All right. Councillor Peter, may I entertain your hand?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I agree with Councillor Marishani, but just to explain, this is quite a complex matter. There's the city cleansing levy issue that is in court, and as Councillor Marishani speaks out. But this is an error that came in, Councillor Marishani, that affects people who have incorrectly double billed that shouldn't have been. This is an error. It's a technical error. Because of the implementation of the city levy, this happened, but it doesn't actually relate to the court case. So this needs to be corrected, and the city agreed to those corrections. So they separated, two separated matters. The city cleansing levy case is independent.
Right.
Thanks. I think I was concluding on that item that we have put in place systems to ensure that this does not reoccur.
So guidance here, CFO, is that, so whatever that would speak to the merits of the case should not be necessarily vindicated, but at high level you are able to deal with the matter. And of course, you also have GH there next to you on your right hand side. So she's able to guide you, but we should stay away from dealing with matters that are before the court, but that doesn't mean you can't say anything at all about a matter, as it may. So as you then proceed and conclude, just be mindful of those parameters, because we are streamed live also here. Our records must not somehow find their way in court. And that no, actually this is the true state of affairs. Maybe arguing against the case of the city, as it may. So, but yeah, proceed and conclude. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I think in conclusion, we have definitely put in place mechanisms to avoid this from recurring in the near future. We've also put systems in board to try and fast track any additional issues of this nature that might reoccur. But institutional internal controls have been strengthened, and Chair will be monitoring this from now moving forward. I think in short that should cover the additional questions that have been raised, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, Tom?
Chair, thanks very much. There was a question that came from the councillor that relates to what is the view of the trading services relating to service charges. Yes, indeed, at the start of the financial year in July, we saw an unfavorable positions that has drastically improved as indicated to the end of Q1, when we see the electricity as the main driver of our revenue move to the collections of revenue of 116%. Which shows that we're on the recovery plan and we're meeting the requirement as such. As you will know that service charge is driven from three sources, one being prepaid, postpaid, and what we call prepayment or e-walleting the system in that fashion. And all those prepaid and prepayment has been on the positive trajectory, and the postpaid is the one that we're attending to it. And to address that aspect, that's why, as part of the funding plan, has been our ability to do the auditings of these meters so they are in the correct tariffs and ensure that they are charged correctly in that fashion. Hence, you saw, in the end of Q1, we're sitting at that favorable positions above the transaction. And now, as we start on the Q2 in the month of October, we're continuing on the same positive trajectory. Despite that, we're moving from the Q1 that has got 2 months that are high demand seasons month, which are charging higher than normal, but we were able to recover in that aspect. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, GH. I think that then will conclude the discussions on this item as recommended. Thank you, colleagues. We'll go to report number 3, which is Group Financial Services, Local Government Municipal Finance Management Act 2003, Act number 56 of 2003, in-year financial report, monthly and quarterly budget statement for the period ending the 30th of September 2025. The report is found on page 134 to 173 with recommendations on 139. Discussions? Comments? Yes, Councillor.
Thank you, Chairperson. Yes, as the CFO has explained to us or mentioned that we are looking better, but instead of a 324 million lower than projected, we are now 177.6 million lower than the year-to-date budget. The three comments or questions that I want to make is with regards to the variance on revenue for the academic services for the TMPD, the discounting of the province's crime prevention warden training. Now, obviously, that gave us a lot of revenue, and we've all heard in the news that the Premier Lesotho has then discontinued these wardens. They're going to be trained for something else. Will the training still be done by us? Will we still be getting that income? Or are we forfeiting that? And will it be addressed in the adjustment budget maybe? Or will there be environments or something to make up for this loss of revenue? Chairperson, then in terms of your current liabilities that exceeds your current assets, for August and September it was on 1.6 billion, and then financial liabilities include loans and bonds of 7 billion. Now that's August, and then suddenly September it says your loans and bonds is now 7.1 billion. Can I just get an explanation of the difference between August and September for your loans and bonds? And then lastly, Chair, the performance indicators, your outstanding debtors to revenue, it's an alarming year-to-date actual where we've seen in August 71.7%, and it's been climbing to 72.4% of your debtors to revenue. Maybe just explain to us what is the plan of action. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's taking a CFO? Is that yours?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I think the first aspect is in relation to the potential loss of revenue from the training that the city was providing on behalf of the province. I think what has been indicated to us is that the training will be converted towards traffic-related training now. So we are hopeful that there will be a reassignment in the duties and the roles and responsibilities, and there shouldn't be a massive impact in terms of what the city or the training that the city will be conducting. But I think as and when that program is clarified and the MOUs are amended accordingly, we should then be in a better position to give concrete response. However, we are going to ensure that this is included or conducted in time before we conclude the adjustment budget on the Council Rando. Reference to the loans, we'll take note that we have an amortization schedule in terms of when the loan repayments are due, which is a big contributing factor towards those changes. And then the last aspect, I think, was in relation to the city's, the current ratio. If you look at our page 161, in fact, where we have disclosed what we've achieved currently in terms of the current liquidity ratio, year to date is sitting at 89.6%. It does demonstrate an improvement in comparison to the previous cycle, whilst also our liquidity provisions are sitting at 12.2 in Chair. This is an indication that from what we had the pre-audit outcome and our year-to-date performance, we've exceeded thereof. From 77% in the pre-audit outcome, we're currently sitting at 89.6. There's an indication, Chair, that our ability to honor those obligations has strengthened for the period under review.
Thank you. Is there any other comment? Okay. Councillor Peter.
Thank you, Chairperson. I would like to go to the cash flow statement on this item, and also to the we call it the financial position of the situation now of Tshwane. Now, if I look, and I'm on pages 157, and then going down to page 158. What I would like to understand is if we look at the current assets versus the current liabilities, it indicates a very big deficiency in terms of working capital and in the ability for this organization to continue. So that is a concern, but if we look at the total assets versus the total liabilities, we see there is we're not insolvent, but we do have a deficiency in working capital. That I want to point out because our current liabilities exceed our current assets. But also, if I look at the cash flow statement, I do not see the revenue collection that we report on you know, in the media and so forth. And I'm concerned about that. You know, I see we collect, for instance, in this month, there was a 4 billion, just over 4 billion collection, but we include, and this is a treasury thing, which God bless their souls, we need to sort out with them in the future, that we include our grants and subsidies, operational grants, in those income totals. And I just want to understand, when we report on the 4 billion cash collected, for instance, is that inclusive or exclusive of grants and subsidies as well? Is that purely cash? And if that's purely cash we collected, why does our cash flow statements not reflect that? It's a major concern for me. And if I look at our cash flow statement in general, it doesn't boast for me that we're in a very healthy financial position. Certainly not what we are led to believe. So if I can just get an understanding on that, please. And then also just assurance from the CFO that these cash flow statements are correct. I know they're unaudited, but can we accept them as correct, or are we going to get a shocker when we see the financial statements later on in the year as well? Thank you.
Right. Yes, CFO.
Thank you, Chair. I think the first element is in reference to our cash flow statement, and I think, firstly, the correctness of our data we can give surety to this committee. This is in line, Alderman Sutton, in terms of the city's bank accounts. It's a better representation purely because we're relying on third-party information as well. So we have consolidated all of those accordingly, and it does represent a true picture for the period ending September 2025. Secondly, Chair, historically, we have had deficiencies in terms of our working capital. And as we've been trying to explain to the committee, is that we are not yet out of the worst liquidity position, but we are slowly working our stride towards addressing those shortcomings that we've seen as a result of our previous performance. Hence, the demonstration of the norm is that current liabilities, we need to have 1.5 to 1. So we need to have 50% more in terms of our assets to cater for all our liabilities. At present, we're sitting at 0.89%. This shows a recovery from 0.77 in the pre-audited results of the previous financial year. So that demonstrates, from a numbers perspective, that the city is clawing back in terms of the shortcomings that we've seen in the past. Yes, we're not yet out of the woods. Yes, we are still seeing some deficiencies in terms of the working capital in its entirety. However, we are confident, Chair, that our ability to honor all short-term obligations does put us in a better provision in terms of avoiding bankruptcy or the inability for us to honor any key obligations from the market's perspective. So, Chair, we are giving confidence to this committee that the city is working towards addressing its working capital requirements. And yes, we do exclude all grants and subsidies. The amounts that have been collected are purely as a result of what the city is clawing back from a current account perspective, from accounts that have been billed currently, as well as arrears in terms of the city's debt book.
Thank you, Councillor Mayor. As we are a bit mindful of time, engagements must also show us that today by 12 we are leaving, because we are having a number of apologies of people who are leaving at 12. So a bit concerned with time. But yes, Councillor Mayor.
Thank you, Chairperson. I've got a quick question. The 2 billion that we need to pay out on back pay on salaries, how is that going to affect our cash flow and our budget?
All right. CFO.
Thanks, Chair. That's a matter that's still under consideration. We are still sitting as management to not only finalize our costing, but to map out a way forward on this item of discussion. Thanks.
Thank you. As recommended. Thank you. Colleagues, we'll go to item number 4. Report number 4, which is Group Financial Services Department, Bulk Service, ESCOM, and Water Boards monthly reports for 2025-2026 financial year. The report is found on page 74 to page 174 to page 179 with recommendations on page 179. Engagements, questions? As recommended? Thank you. We'll go to report number 5, which is from Group Financial Service Department. Creditors' age analysis as of 30 June 2025 for the city of Tshwane. And the report is found on page 180 to page 185 with recommendations on page 185. Councillor Randall.
Yes, thank you so much, Chairperson. In terms of this item, the tables given to us in terms of the overdue invoices, 61 days and over for June, and the total outstanding for June, it's a little bit confusing. I don't know if it's just me. It's not clear because you're playing around here with figures that's not yet due and that's been paid in this month exactly. I'm not exactly sure where we are in terms of the balances that is given to us in the different tables. But my question then would be, what would be the main causes for late submission of invoices, and are all the departments in the city of Tshwane making use of the e-invoicing system, and how does that assist us? My other remark would be supplier training on invoices. Do our service providers know exactly how to submit an invoice in time so that they can get paid on time? The challenge, obviously, again, we note cash flow and liquidity. So as the CFO alluded to the fact that we're not out of the woods yet. There was I didn't take the page number, I'm sorry, but in terms of creditors not paid, reason there given was vendors were not yet confirmed. Now, Chair, a year ago, we made a big thing about rolling out of the online procurement, the ECP, Ariba system. Now, that would have then caused your central supplier database applications and registrations to be linked. So I cannot see how we can do business, but we cannot, we have this creditors not paid because the vendor was not yet confirmed. It doesn't make sense to me. Also then, invoices, are they paid to the purchase orders? Do we have instances where we then find that there's duplication of invoices, and that leads to the overstatement of overdue invoices? My last question, Chair, in terms of the reduction in late payment fees, do we experience late payment fees from service providers? Do we get that? Because we obviously need to pay within 30 days as far as possible. I just would like to know, timely payments for the processing of payments can reduce the risk of late fees and penalties, and whether we do have those. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mahlo.
Thanks, Chairperson. Chairperson, the issue of system errors, technicalities, subsystem technical errors is coming here again, especially resulting into the blocking of payment of invoices, including house bank configurations, conflict of interest, invalid tax clearance certificate, and so on. I think the issue of the systems, subsystem, especially this S4HANA issue, really is impacting very negative on this financial controls, Chairperson. I think maybe the CFO can broaden this explanation in terms of, because it's a continuous problem. How are they going to really try to mitigate all these issues of non-payment of invoices because of the system errors? Thank you.
Thank you. Who's taking that? CFO?
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
The city does have a centralized system for submission of invoices. So take note, Chair, in the past, this is a component where the city had been qualified by the AG. A number of systems have been put on board, not only to clean up, but to also strengthen the submission, validity, and verification of invoices, because we do have number of fly-by-nights of individuals taking chances thereof. So we have put systems in place to try and ensure that this system has been strengthened. All invoices must be submitted to a centralized email, which are then disseminated according to various departments for confirmation purposes. This is essential for us to gain control of the entire payables module and function of the city. Further to that, Chair, vendors not confirmed will take note that we have implemented Ariba. It's currently up and running, and all our procurement activities are facilitated around that in line with the agreed thresholds. So over and above that, we'll take note that there are service providers whom we've appointed well before Ariba implementation, and the service providers we've appointed after Ariba implementation. So vendor registration is affected by those who have been appointed before the implementation of the Ariba supply chain management system. However, continuous discussions are continuing on a daily basis. We do have a dedicated team within supply chain management purely aimed at rectifying any vendor-related issues. Other implications, if service providers' tax matters are not in place, those are items which are outside our control. What we do is just give advice to those particular vendors, correct your matters within a 7-day period, kindly ensure that you are in constant communication with us. That's what we normally do on instances of that nature. Invoices versus POs, the system is well advanced. We are able to designate between a duplicated invoice versus a purchase order as well. So I think the purchase requisitions that we also have a significant role to strengthen us avoiding that. Lastly, in terms of fruitless and wasteful expenditure, because we do pay late, what the city does, we sign payment arrangements with all service providers who will pay late, thereby defecting the purpose of them charging us any interest and penalties thereof. The biggest consumers and interest in the past would have been your power utility, would have been late payments for employee-related cost items, your bulk water service providers like Rand Water. You'll be aware that we've dealt with those matters accordingly, and all other service providers, there's effective communication, and we're not being charged any fruitless and wasteful expenditure when we've got those agreements. The last question in terms of the system errors, the payables and expenditure module is on S4. It has been successfully migrated, Chair. It is not integrated through any seamless journals. So all information and errors that are occurring on this should be minimalized completely. In fact, the errors that you might have here is as a result of a capturing, not any system-related areas. So the system, what it does, it rejects any incomplete items that have been captured on the system from an invoice perspective, one. Also, it rejects any items that are not aligned. We take into account that the system is integrated with your SARS, your National Treasury, CSD. So any inconsistencies of a directorship, an income tax number that's not captured correctly, it is referred back. Of course, we do implore on project managers and those service providers who are affected to address this as a matter of urgency. Chair, in short, I think these are the responses to the matters that have been raised.
Thank you. That will conclude the discussion on this report as recommended. Thank you, colleagues. We'll jump on to the first supplementary. Councillor Marshani.
Thank you, Chair. I think it would be disingenuous and unfair for us if we close this group financial reports without congratulating Team Finance, the MMC and the CFO's leadership on the team for a whopping collection of a 4 billion, historic for that matter. Yeah. Congratulations, Team Finance. In fact, we must clap hands for that. But also, that goes for all of us, including all departments, because it then tells you that we are doing something very good. And that which we have been doing for the past few months is igniting excellence, hope, and confidence on the residents of this city. Let's keep up the good work, colleagues. Indeed, CFO, we are not out of the woods yet. Lots needs to be done, City Manager. Let's support these initiatives in terms of the recovery plan that we have as the city. And you will see the future looks bright. Indeed, we will come out of this muddy situation. So let's work very hard, colleagues, in the next coming months we will indeed achieve our goals. Thank you very much.
Thank you. No, indeed, it is a great achievement, and we wish to get more of that in the future. It seems the former MMC, is interested in the issue. Thank you very much, colleagues. We'll jump on to the first supplementary agenda before you. Has been loaded on SharePoint. There's only one report here. It's from the Office of the Speaker. The Municipal Public Accounts Committee, MPAC, consolidated first quarter performance report for the period 1 July 2025 to 30 September 2025. The report is found on page 4 to page 10, with recommendations on page 10. Engagements, questions, comments? Yes, Meneer.
Thank you, Chair. This is more of a comment, Chair. We are happy that in this report there's no blue lights in this case. Thank you, Chair.
No. On a lighter note.
Hero and structure. Yeah, thanks, Chairman. Just for an advice, while it with the report, but going forward, Chairperson, we would like to get a detailed report, especially on UIWF. If you read on 4.2, the table, we are told that UIWF, 6 of them have been approved by council, which is a good thing. But then it is going to be prudent if we also have a details in terms of how much did we have written off and how much did we consider for recovery, but also in line with Section 32 of MFA, how far with the disciplinary cases, consequences management that were referred in line with Section 32 precisely. But more importantly, the issue of also the financial disciplinary matters that are sitting in the financial disciplinary board. They must be part of this report so that as in when, Chairperson, even now if they can call you into a media platform, we are going to be unable to indicate figures as to how much did we return off for this quarter and how much we council have approved for recovery. So please include those details going forward. Thank you, Chair.
I concur. It's something that should be done so that the report itself you can comprehend it better, and then it summarizes what has been done within the quarter in question with the necessary detail thereof. I think that's quite important. The team will work on it. I don't know if there's any other input. All right, as recommended. Thank you. The second supplementary agenda. On that supplementary agenda, we have one report. The report is on the Office of the Chief Whip Department. The report on declaration forms completed or updated by the councillors for the 2025-2026 financial year. The report is found on page 4 to page 8 with the recommendations on page 8. Comments? All right. We'll start with Councillor Councillor Semfei, then proceed to Councillor Tsebo, and then proceed to Councillor Marshall. Councillor Semfei.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I think the last time this report served here, Councillor Marishali raised a pertinent issue to say all councillors who failed to submit their declaration on the due date that was provided should all be referred to the rules and ethics. But however, in terms of this report, the referral is limited to only those limited number of councillors that are listed there. So, Chair, with that being said, we'd like to sponsor an additional recommendation stating that all councillors who failed by the deadline to submit that declaration all be referred to the Rules and Ethics Committee, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Tsebo.
Chairperson, I'm busy looking here and calculating the numbers. We are of the vote and we are the majority here. We can resolve on this. Maybe we should list to go straight to the MEC. We should jump these processes. I'm teasing you. So we appreciate the commitment of councillors who really complied with the process. We should not only focus on the negative ones, but we really appreciate those and the office of the chief whip in really making efforts in follow-up councillors. I believe myself I'm a privilege of being followed up, being reminded work is done, and the others who are outside really due process must follow so that we get our house in order. We can't lead while we are ourselves are not compliant with processes. Thanks a lot.
Councillor Marshall.
Madam Chair, I reject the earlier recommendation made by my honorable friend. But safe to say, Chair, you know when a person has erred and you give them an opportunity and you still find the same results, that tells you that there's something wrong. And I'm not sure whether the law permits us, Chair, whether we can bite up until that point. But some of these things, they are an embarrassment to the city. We are leaders as councillors. And the question is, what message are we sending if we are not making declarations ourselves as councillors? What message are we sending to the officials? What message are we sending to the general public out there? A capital city for that matter, Chair. I'm not sure whether the terms of reference of this committee allows us that during our public hearings, these councillors must come and account. They must come and explain themselves. The good thing is that that meeting will be online. Perhaps we need to take it that far, Chair. These councillors must come and explain themselves in front of the public, the voters that elected them to come and serve here. It's unbecoming of councillors to behave like this when they've been given so many chances. I've got evidence from the office of the chief whip that they have been called many a times, being reminded that they must declare and all these things. But it tells you that so perhaps there's something that we can find in here, Chair. So I want to lobby ourselves as committee that let's do the checks and balances. If the law allows us, these councillors must appear in the public hearings and they must come and explain themselves as to what informs them not wanting to declare. Perhaps there's something special that we don't know about their activities or their affairs. And these things might end up putting the city at risk at some point. So let's investigate. And if that is the case, we are allowed to do that, Chair. They must come and appear before the committee and explain themselves in our public hearings on the 23rd, right? January. Thank you very much, Chair.
Yeah. So legally, we cannot call them to appear before us. It was going to be nice to call them, but we have to refer them to rules and ethics. That would be the correct thing to do. We do not want to overstep and that delivery on a different responsibility altogether on Section 79. But let me entertain your hand, Councillor, and then we shall.
No, thanks very much, Chairperson. Before we officially submit the recommendation, we wanted to check with the chief whip's office as to two things. The first one is that when was the deadline for the submission of the declaration of the interest? And at that time of the deadline, how many councillors were in compliant with the submissions? We have the previous report, but we want to hear from them. Because we agree, Chair, we are in support of the rule of law, compliance. That's why we are not even against the recommendation that this need to be submitted to rules and ethics, this affected councillors. And it's true that even our councillors are there, 3 of them, but we are not going to try and defend nonsense. But if the Chief will please respond to these 2 questions. When was the deadline, and how many councillors did submit it before the deadline? Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, the Gentamalema, right? Is here. You are taking it, ne? So give the report on dates which I believe that report was before us, so it's public knowledge. Safe to say that the report before us is what we are recommending based on. But proceed, Group H.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Warm greetings to yourself, honorable members of the committee, the city manager, MSO, CFO in absentia here, and other colleagues in the house. I think it is important to basically start off by welcoming the comments made by honorable members of the committee here. In response to the 2 questions raised or posed, the initial deadline was, if not mistaken, the 8th of September instant. And you will be aware that we submitted a report to this committee, where we then requested for the indulgence of the committee to allow us to submit the updates to the report. So, and that permission was granted. So, by implication, that will mean, and that's our interpretation of the implication of your agreement in allowing us to make further submission. So, to us, the implication of that decision would then mean that the deadline was tacitly or indirectly extended to the date on which you expected the subsequent updated version of the report, which will then be today, because you took a decision in the most recent.
Colleagues, so you have every right to ask a question, but you cannot dictate. No, wait. So when you raise a point of order, someone should have contravened the rule. Wait. So the word point of order you don't just raise it. It means that there is something that someone is doing that is not in line with the yellow book.
Yes.
So you're not going to say point of order because you don't like the response.
No, point of order, Chair.
I'm listening to a point. Tell me what is the point of order.
Point of order.
Yeah, you must tell me first what is the point of order.
Point
or
of
what are you
order.
raising on?
No, we are raising point of order, Chairperson.
Yes.
You must
Refer
not
me.
be a subordinate of the office of chief whip. You are the chairperson. We must be guided by the rules. And the point of order, Chair, is that the Mushavi there, unfortunately, is lying and is misinterpreting the fact. And this is the point of order. We deliberately ask these questions, not for malicious intention, Chairperson, because we have seen or there is lies here.
Councillor Rodney, so you have a yellow book, right? Which then will guide you how meetings must be conducted.
Let
No,
me
I'm still
give you
talking.
example of
I'm still
the
talking.
lies that were
I'm
saying.
still talking.
If
Now,
you read
now when
the
you raise
code
on a
of
point of
conduct
order, you raise
of councillors,
on a specific section that
Yes.
you are contravening this and that section. So you don't just say point of order because you do not like the content of the response.
no, it's
itself.
fine. We hear you.
So whatever that you are raising as a point of is a point of debate. It's not a point of
No, it's
order.
point of
So there is
order.
no wait.
It's point
Then,
of
then
order.
which section is contravened?
It's section 11 of rules.
What does it say?
It says, eh?
What does that say?
It says if a person is maliciously lying, we must call point of order.
I think we are making things obvious to move. That will take it, that is on a lighter note. So, we'll get Councillor Tsepo. You will come through, Councillor.
Maybe,
No, you
I don't want us to go
I'll
to the.
recognize you after Councillor Marishani.
I don't want us to go to the minutes and prove ourselves. But honestly, let's just be fair. We had a meeting and there was a point of information that says that there were administratively things that were not updated on the report. We sent the report back to have an updated version. And this is the updated version. So if people do not use even the gracious opportunity given to them, let's not play around and make excuses. They even gave you gracious opportunity. They could have said others were able to even use that window period. But we extended it for the administrative part to say that there are others that were not captured when the report was released. Can we go back that they are all captured? And somebody still doesn't use that window. We can't sit here and discuss and try to manage that one. That person doesn't want to submit, Chairperson. And I believe that let's just close this report and with the recommendation. Thanks a lot.
All right. Councillor, something?
Thank you, Chair. I think it would be very appropriate for the previous official to retract his statements because his statements are very misleading. There has never been a resolution for this committee to say councillors who fail to submit the declaration timelessly, there would be condemnation for that. And there would be an extension for that. If now we as a committee saying we are extending the declaration, which provisions of the law are we using to do that? Because the councillors' code of conduct is clear that within 60 days upon election, members should declare their interest. So now, by us deviating from that direction, it's a clear indication that us, as this committee, we are suppressing the rule of law in the city, especially in the office of the city, in the office of the chief whip. And Chair, kindly, with the previous speaker, withdraw his malicious and misinformed statement and misleading statement. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, so I will rule on that. Officer, the Deputy Chief Whip, your hand was up. I don't know if you still want to speak or you are covered before I rule.
No, Chair, you can rule. We must go forward on this. I mean, this is the last item. We can't prolong the meeting with something as obvious as this, Chair. We did not circumvent the law anywhere. We did not change the law anywhere. Technically, there were issues on the report in our previous meeting, and we took it back for us to get the updated version because there was information that there's updates on the report in terms of what we put earlier on. But we did not technically say, no, the report must go back to accommodate people to submit and do so on and so forth. No. Councillor Maris must not cast aspersion on us. No. That is not what we have said in the report. So please, Chair, make a ruling and take us forward. If we are not agreeing, divide the House and then.
So, it's okay, you've had your bite, and colleagues, we must not lose, if I may have your attention. Colleagues, the meeting is still in session. Councillor Peter, the meeting is still in session, and unfortunately we don't have enough time to delay it any further. So we must not lose track of events and what have happened. So what have happened is that the report served before us, and then information came that there is information that was not captured on the report, and therefore a resolution was then taken that there's going to be an updated report that then is put before us. And before Councillor Tsepo, before you leave, we need to conclude this matter before you leave. From that point, we then dealt with this issue where anyone had an opportunity, because remember the issue of submission. They can't reject your submission even if you made it today. But the fact that your submission did not make it even on this day, it shows lack of will to correct it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that there was a rule to say, no, we are extending submission. So point we are raising with you is that we give you an opportunity. You have an opportunity even today, by the way, to go and submit anyone who is affected. Yes, you may have missed the deadline, but the submission would be in. But then by continuously missing the deadline, you are continuously contravening the issue, this thing. So the matter has been ventilated in many forums. Now, the answers that you got from the group head was that by effect or by the last resolution that was taken on this report, it said that an updated report should come. So whether we say it expressly or not, but it somehow did affect the report and so on. So we have to pass the report. And then if you then want to sponsor a recommendation, you have to sponsor a recommendation. It's as simple as that. So we cannot continuously debate a matter. You know what to do. It is clear that there is two different perspectives on a matter, or maybe more than one. So it's up to you what you want to do with this report. So do what you may with the report, or what you are allowed legally to do with the report. Then let's move on.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Chair, with what is being said and the concerns that are being raised, Chair, it's a clear indication that this committee, what it's doing, it's circumventing compliance. We are condoning non-compliance, and clearly there's no consequences of non-compliance. You can submit anytime, even though there's a deadline for submission. I'd like to place that on record, Chair. Chair, with that being said, an additional recommendation is that the removal of recommendation 2 and that it be replaced with the following. On councillors who failed to submit their declaration on the due date of 31st September of August 2025 be referred to the Rules and Ethics Committee to ensure adherence of the law and codes of conduct proposed by myself, Councillor Karabo Simfeng, seconded by Councillor Rodney Mapusela. Thank you, Chair.
I would request that the Secretariat assist us with the recommendation. Councillor Mabusela.
Thank you, Chair. We sponsored the recommendation, but it must also be noted that the group head of Chief Whip was concluded in responding to his question that we posed to him. And there were two questions. The deadline, and he said the deadline was on the 8th, according to him. And the deadline was on the 80th of August. And secondly, we want to hear from him as to before the deadline, on the deadline, how many councillors did comply and submitted?
The latter question was responded to. You do not like
No,
the response. You disagree. No, wait. I'm still chairing.
The group
you do not agree with the response from the group head. So that doesn't
No, but
mean
the second question was not responded, Chairperson.
No, he said that by effect of that last resolution, it shook or took or moved the deadline. You then
What's
said it's a
difficult
point.
to give him opportunity to respond?
No, he has already said that.
No, he didn't say anything. You can't be his protector, Chief. Ask him, he's here.
Okay,
No,
the chair
no,
is
no.
supposed to protect.
No, he's here. Let him respond. He's here to respond to the questions.
All
What
participants
is
of this
difficult?
meeting-
Order.
No,
all
no.
participants of this
Allow
meeting
him to respond.
will
Order,
be,
Chair.
Allow
will be
him to
protected by
respond.
the chair.
No, Chairperson. You are out of order. Allow him to respond. It doesn't
Councillor-
matter you are
Councillor Tshepo?
uncomfortable with the question.
It's fine.
No,
Councillor
allow
Tshepo?
him to respond.
No, you are
Eh?
not chairing.
You are saying no.
You are not chairing.
No, you are saying no. We want to
It is the discretion of the chair as to at which
No,
point do I allow
you are
him to
misleading
respond.
your powers. There is a person here who's misleading us.
Okay, refer me to rules and ethics.
No, we want him to respond to our questions, Chairperson. We ask the questions.
Councillor
No, don't be
You can
clumsy. We
request
ask
that-
the questions.
Councillor Mabusela?
Don't be clumsy. We ask
Councillor
the question.
Mabusela?
Let him respond. We want to call up the meeting. Let him respond. We are not your kids. No,
Councillor
we are not
Mabusela?
your kids. Don't treat us as if we are own subordinates. Here is the person. Let him respond. Oh. No, Ratikwan. Ska itia tsotsi man. Re bone re ntwe ya kae. Le itia tsotsi le nana le tlalefile. O nana o re bana. E re a responder mokwe mogala go. Wa thiba o re wa thiba. Ra tseba re bo so submit. And we don't have a problem with our own people. Let them go to rules and ethics. We agree is compliance.
Councillor Mabusela?
But that doesn't mean you must then subject us not to ask questions. Why seeing and why seeing why tatamon?
When it's like this, we must extend that thing of white shirts. So I'm saying to you, Councillor, there is no problem for you to pose a question, any question. But then what you are doing, you are now also dictating to the chair as to at which point should the chair allow someone to respond. And I'm saying to you that I'm still chairing and I'm capable to chair and I'm going to chair. You don't have to like it. And then there are certain responses that are going to come that you don't agree with. But then that doesn't mean that someone did not respond. I'm sure anyone and everyone in this committee meeting today have had the response, and we've also heard that you don't agree with the response. That's not a problem. But you can't impose that. And then you also can't threaten to collapse the meeting. You also can't behave in that unruly manner, where I speak, you speak, I speak, you speak. give you a chance to speak. If the chair stops you, you stop. And then you listen to the chair and then you go back and you finish your point. At no point have I ever stopped any person from contributing in this committee. So you are acting as if I've stopped you from contributing any time or at any point in this committee, and it's never been the case. So, Councillor Tsepo, in the interest of time.
Chairperson, I don't know how we got here. It's every individual councillor's responsibility to comply. It's every individual councillor's responsibility. I don't know how we got to this degenerating because of one councillor. If I'm part of the list of councillors not submit, it's up to me to take responsibility, engage, give explanation, use the necessary platforms, be given opportunity. We're not supposed to be seated here, pulling each other down, exchanging rough words towards each other, degenerating these meetings in front of officials, as if every councillor doesn't know. I know myself that every year, at a certain period, I need to comply with certain rules and what. And now we are trying to pay defense and what. No, it's not going to work. All councillors who do not comply, let them be subjected to the process. We know the process. They will explain themselves when they get to the process. And that process will have to deal with whatever is happening. And failure, it will get as far as it should be. There's a systematic process in dealing with that. So I was discussing these things back and forth like this. It's not going to assist us. And we might want to defend. The other day it will be 30 out of 75 ANC members, maybe next year or the other day. So it will change, and we don't want to play defense. If anybody, everybody, every member, whether political line, whether what, even with the officials, is not only subjected to us as councillors, also officials and everybody who has to comply with this process, who doesn't provide. There's a predetermined process on what needs to happen. Let the ball roll, and let's stop engaging too much on this thing. Thanks.
Colleagues, in the interest of time, we are at the point where we are sponsoring recommendations. I do get the point, but sometimes we can discuss the matter, and if you don't find each other, you're not going to find each other. Doesn't matter how many times you speak. So I don't know, Councillor Peter, if you feel very strong that you still want to speak on a matter.
No, I just wanted to state we're not missing each other. I think my colleague has been very clear on his position as well, and he agrees with Councillor Tsela. They're coming from two different groups, but they're saying exactly the same thing. I think let's go to the recommendations as per your guidance, Chair, and let's deal with that. But my colleagues have said exactly what's been said.
All right. So, okay, so there is a recommendation on the report, and then there is a recommendation here as a, change of the recommendation on the report. So he did read down. Are you withdrawing it? Because I had someone say as recommended, you are laughing there, I don't know. You still want me to read it on record? The recommendation is that recommendation 2 be removed and replaced with all councillors who failed to submit their declaration on the due date of the 31st of August 2025 to be referred to the Rules and Ethics Committee to ensure adherence of the law and the code of conduct, and then is proposed by Councillor Garabo Senfeng and seconded by Councillor Rotmembo Busela. Yes, recommended? No. All right. So, we are going to divide the House. Those who are voting for this recommendation or in favor of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, thank you. Those who are voting against. When it's a tie, the chair must. It's only natural. Democracy.
Chair, it must be noted 25 EFF councillors were meant to be referred to the rules and ethics. That's why we're defending it like this, Chair. We fully understand. But remember, we're going to take this fight out somewhere else.
But
It's
Councillor
fine.
Mabusela is still voting with those who are saying. No, but you raise your hand. Okay,
Chairperson,
the ladies have it.
just
Yeah?
before he comes,
Okay, yes, Councillor.
can we please close the matter? You are putting me at risk. Somebody just wrote me a WhatsApp message now to say, I'm the cause of this ill discipline because of what is written on my chest. See now.
And that is exactly what we are doing, breaking the rules, Chair.
I noticed it.
You are
and
at
then
the
I
lead
just
of
ignored
that,
it.
breaking the rules.
I thought it would just pass over people's heads. But no, that's okay. Councillor Mabusela?
Oh, thanks very much, Chairperson. We are requesting that in our minutes note our opposition. It is myself, Councillor Mabusela, Satran,
But by
Councillor
the fact that you're.
Sinfeng and Councillor Adrian from the
Thank
Food of
you.
Rand Plus. But
That's okay.
thank you. And again, Chief Whip is not over the group, or what again, group Chief Whip, something like that. We are going to write a letter. We are going to write a letter to you, Ntate Malem, with the same questions, and we are going to humbly request you to respond to our questions. It's not over yet. Thank you.
Yeah, but.
I
no,
think the same
no,
scrutiny that this House
No,
is.
no, but what you just said is very important. It's like you are threatening someone. You may. No, wait. So you can't say to someone, no, I am not I pay in my meeting. But that's what you are saying to me. I am not I pay in my meeting. Happy, I'm cheering it, and I'm cheering it, and I'm cheering it. So, and you must check also the notice. So, Councillor, I'm not going to allow that. I'm not going to allow that. You cannot threaten the chief whip in my presence, because it means that, no, you can't do that. You cannot do that. No, this is a very sensitive committee. If I'm going to make
Whether
something
sensitive
personal-
or not, Chief, we are going to write question to
No,
you.
you can write a question. No one's.
What is the threat? What is
so
the
you can't
threat
tell
about
someone it's not
writing
over.
questions?
It's not over.
No, we are going to write
If,
question
if
to
the,
him.
if
What
the
is the
chief
threat?
whip, if the chief whip walks out of here and
What
something
is the
happens to
threat? We are
what
going
must
to
we
write
think?
questions. We are going to write question to him.
And you don't have
No,
monopoly
but we are
over anarchy.
defending him. We are going to write to him. What is the
I
threat?
want to show Zile this thing.
No, you
I
can
want to
show
Zile
whoever.
this clip.
You can show whoever. Whoever. We are going to write to him.
Councillor Tsila?
Chair, I think we've exhausted this matter. We are past.
No,
I
there is
think
a problem.
the recommendations, as in the report, have been passed. Chair. I think we've dealt with this report.
Colleagues, yeah, but we have raised hands, and let's respect one another. You see, this is so embarrassing. We can't behave like this as councillors. Colleagues, MPEC is a serious committee. Pella, we're misbehaving, colleagues. I'm appealing to both of you, Chair, and no, colleagues. We don't do that. We might differ. Look now, Satan is going to write the statement when he gets out of here, because he used to write the statement on our behalf. He's also out of order, but we're not fighting with him. Don't write the statement, Satan, when you get out of here, please.
Okay, I don't know, Councillor, so Councillor Tsepo, I don't know if you still feel strong that you want to speak. But if you do, please just try to keep it short, please.
Chairperson, a lot of things lately, there's a lot of culture in impact lately. And it goes as far as statements and media statements and a lot of things. The Chairperson, we are members of this committee and we're all equal and we should all be respected. And how we run our affairs. There's a scientific committee and lately we are live. We used to be behind the scene. We were not live for a long time. And a lot of things could be managed better. But lately, I think we can run this meeting better. I think we have more important issues. It's like we are so self-centered and that when we get to report that deals with councillors, we get so emotional. And there are reports that deals with the city issues, operational matters, finances of the city. We don't give the same energy. Our councillors know much. We can't behave like that. Let's bring ourselves back to our senses. We don't need to any recommendation, any new law. We all know that what we're subjecting ourselves to when we not comply with these processes of submitting those documents by when. So we can't defend one another and do what Chairperson. I'm calling for restraint. Let's close this part. Let's move on to the recommendation. Let's call report. Let's take 5, go home. We'll come back with fresh heads. Thanks a lot.
Deputy Chief Whip, are you covered?
No, Chair, thanks. But safe to say, if this continues, then I propose that we take this in committee, we release these officials, they still have a lot of work to do. If councillors wants to continue like this, it's fine. We can have a debate continuously, but let's release the city manager and his team. We remain in committee, perhaps group head, chief whip, and the speaker's office, they can remain. But the rest of the officials, we can excuse them, Chair. Then we take this matter in committee, if that is the case.
Thank you. The comments are noted, colleagues, and I propose that we move forward and try to refrain from certain things that have a potential to derail the progress of the committee. The recommendations are on page 8. As recommended? Yes. Thank you. We'll then go to report number 1, which is the report that was referred to the later, to be entertained at the tail end of the meeting. It's on the first agenda or the original agenda. The report is from the Office of the Speaker, Oversight Report on Irregular Expenditure for the 4th quarter of 2024-2025 financial year, and the report is found on page 28 to page 96 with recommendations on page 38. Any comments on the report? Yes, Councillor Randall, and then we'll come to Councillor Peter.
Thank you, Chairperson. There is exactly 6 items or irregular expenditure that we need to look at. I'm just going to briefly give you a few inputs because I'm not happy with the content. There's a lot of information missing that we would have loved to see, and I don't necessarily want to recommend that we send this report back again. We need to get to a point where this can be adopted. But let me quickly just run through it. The first item was a contract where the second extension was granted to 30 April 25, but the BEC by August indicated that they were still busy. I wanted to know whether there was a third extension granted, and I note with very big concern the deliberate delay and poor planning and contract management and the delay that might have caused the exclusion of possible new bidders. That's my comment on the first one. The second one, additional 10.3 million was recommended by the BAC. I want to know what's the reason for the additional cost to Ditsimega. My further concern is that the contract was awarded in the 21-22 financial year, yet irregularity was reported in the 2020-2021 financial year, if there's a typo or if I missed something. The third one is the BRT. My question there is on the second extension. I have got no idea of the cost implications of the second extension, if we can get that. The fourth one is really raising a lot of red flags. If you don't know, SKG Africa has been taken to Parliament. Even the MK party has, in November last year, requested President Ramaphosa to give a proclamation to the SIU to investigate, especially the owner of this company, John du Plessis. There's definite evidence of fronting. He's using small smaller black companies as fronts, and yet here we are, City of Tshwane, doing business with somebody like this. His address is in the Eastern Cape. What is he doing in City of Tshwane? So it's a major concern. There's no extension request. If there was, it's not in the report. And I would like to see what's the financial implications of this contract being extended. So please, Chair, note that it's really a concern, and I'm definitely going to follow up with the National Minister for Public Works and see, what has been done. Because there's a monopoly with this owner, Jean du Plessis, all over South Africa. So it's very alarming that we're doing business with this company at this point. Company number 5, or item number 5, it's the tender for monitoring and prevention and demolition of illegal land and building occupation. Again, no financial implications, so there's no amounts. And also a note in the report, no evidence of request for approval approved by the city manager, who's contravening Regulation 36, as this was not an exceptional case. The last one is your security guarding services. Now, there is a 1 month that was not covered with any extension contract, so indeed there should have been another extension granted for specifically a month. We note the specification for the new tender was received on the 29th of October 24, and then it says it was approved on the 2nd December 2021. I mean, the quality again of these reports is questionable. Is this a typo? Must I understand that you do specs in 24 and you approve in 21? I don't understand. And then lastly, Chair, the total amount that we're looking at is 336 million, and we would have loved to see a breakdown for each of these 6 contracts. To know exactly what we're in for per contract, but at least we do have an amount that we can work with, a ballpark figure. I'm sure that the accounting officer informed the mayor, the MEC for COCTA, and the Auditor General in writing. Can I just get confirmation? And then also a very important recommendation on page 38, that the accounting officer can appoint targeted bid evaluation committees to fast-track service delivery from time to time. Has this ever been considered? If we see that, you're not going to be in time with your tender specs and adverts, has this ever been done? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rambam. Councillor Mayor.
Thank you, Chairperson. I think Councillor Randall covered me on a lot. Just a comment on what we see and what we observe in all these reports. It's poor contract management, poor planning, tenders that expire, and we don't follow the supply chain normal procedures to make sure that these tenders are going out on time, to ensure that we continue with service delivery on time. We see it in all these reports. I've seen it in the past 4 years now since I've been in council, so something must be done about this. It's just a general comment, apart from what Councillor Randall has already highlighted in the report. Thank you.
Thanks. We solicit some responses. MSO?
No, Chair, just a slight concern. I'm aware that this is your report as MPEC, but perhaps the report should have been considered in committee, just to avoid, because some of the issues that are being raised, if you look at the body of the report, make reference, and particularly the inputs that are also being made by councillors, make reference to some of the issues that are currently referred for investigations and so on. So I would request that you perhaps consider this specific report in committee.
Well, it's okay. I'll check your hand for now. Councillor?
I want to check from the latter speaker. Are they proposing that the report be discussed in committee? Then we wanted to understand why, because there is specific rule here. If one want to ask for the report to be discussed in committee, and the main reason is that perhaps you will find that that report contains the name of the people affected. Therefore, in terms of OP Act and other protections, we need to protect those names. But we read the report here, Chair. We haven't found anything in relation to identity. That's why we are surprised. Maybe if we can be clarified, then it's not a problem.
So, here is the issue. And I do get where the MSO comes from, because I share the same sentiments with Councillor Randa, that yesterday as one was finalizing preparations, you realize that dodgy characters, there is allegations of fronting, but then as you discuss the matter, you'll inevitably dwell into names. Yes, the report does not have names, but in order for you to get your point across, you're going to end up having to discuss people's names. Most likely this report will come back as a Section 32. No way this report is going to be a confidential report at some point. Yes, it did not necessarily start as a confidential report, but at some point you're going to end up with a situation. I think also the issue here is not about us necessarily dwelling, because there's no investigation yet on the report, but it's to give a synopsis and a basis and a rationale as to why do we need this report to be sent for investigation. But then most definitely when it comes back, it's going to come back as a confidential report. But I think then the concern would be to avoid sending it back like we did send it back. Because the request last time was that it got sent back because even ourselves were not too comfortable about it because of the nature of discussions per se, but then just that we fell short of making it a confidential report. So that's where the issues are. So we don't want to stifle debate, but equally we have to be sensitive when we deal with an issue to not find ourselves streaming and discussing the matter and so on while we've been streamed, and then we keep on mentioning people's names and so on. But I do get the rationale. So I would not necessarily stop anyone from speaking about it, but you've got to sensitize your inputs on the matter. But mine is with Umpagati and Stay Mail Construction CC. That is selling land. The allegations of that, property of the state, they are busy everywhere. Threatening with eviction if you don't pay, and so on, under TNPD. Advertise us, because there must be rationale. Why do we want further investigation on a matter, if there is a? So we can't just come and say, no, send it for investigation without giving some synopsis of what are we looking at. Should there be any investigation on a matter? But that SKG issue, it's a big issue that we can't just ignore. In fact, I thought it's linked to Levy, that thing. Because he has got a company that is named with a similar abbreviation. That's why I was checking its background. Councillor, something?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, in moving forward, I'd like to maybe say the recommendations as they are, I think they're in a position to cover us going forward. Then I think the biggest question is, when can we expect that these the forensic investigations into all of these irregularities, how soon can we expect them? I think that should be our point of departure, because now trying to figure out issues in bits and pieces, I think we are only distracting ourselves and putting ourselves in a position to be fed more misinformation.
Right. Councillor Mayor.
Thanks, Chairperson. I agree. What we need is covered in terms of the recommendations. However, we've seen some of these will go for, obviously, forensic investigations as well. But we've seen these forensic reports which were not up to standard. Companies were used outside of Pretoria. I think the department was seriously considered to appoint people that are fit for purpose. Some always attorneys don't do actually forensic investigations. We've got you being wasteful expenditure again. Thanks, Chair.
Councillor Mabusela.
No, thanks, Chair. Without even repeating what colleagues have said, our understanding is that this report, Chairperson, including the recommendations, emanates from Section 32 of MFMA, which deals with unauthorized, irregular, wasteful, fruitless expenditure. The section, Chair, it says that if there is an unauthorized, irregular, and wasteful expenditure, the committee of council must investigate. And that committee of council is us as an MPEC through the group audit and risk. So, Chairperson, our understanding is that, especially on the recommendation, is it number 1, that said the report be referred to investigation. The investigation, it will be around the irregular. Irregular is non-compliant. Then they will then receive the confidential reports, like you indicated. Then we are going to interrogate the confidential reports as per irregular expenditure. There are 6 of them here. So our plea is that we don't want to preempt the outcome of the investigations. That's why we support the recommendation that let it be to group an audit for investigation in line with the principle of natural justice. Then MPEC is going to take it forward after we had received the outcomes of the investigations. That is our understanding, Chair. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So, I think I would concur that fine, no problem, we refer the report for investigation. Deal with that part it's already part of the recommendations now. However, if there is any specifications in relation to the recommendations, you are able to come on board and clarify which areas you want investigated. Because the word investigation is very broad. And that's why sometimes the forensic comes back and people are not happy. There was issues of concerns on timelines when the matters are investigated. They are not yet dealt with. I have recommendations that are still en route. They are still being printed to deal with the latter part of the recommendation. But maybe instead of us wasting more time, we can then agree, colleagues, that either we will break, you sort out your recommendations if you are all comfortable, or we can then move on to calling of reports in the meantime. The problem is that at 12 o'clock, many people need to leave, which is in 10 minutes. right. Thank you, colleagues. That's fine, colleagues. The recommendation for the report in question are found on page 38. As recommended? Thank you. All right. Thank you very much, colleagues. We'll deal with the calling of reports. Is it on calling of reports? Okay, cool. Yes, Minar.
Thank you, Chair. Calling of a report subject. How much each law firm on the city's panel received from December 2021 to December 2025. Motivation to identify how much each law firm on the city's panel has received, the type of instructions and the outcomes of instructions from December 2021 to December 2025. What must be reported on, list of law firms on the city's panel, what kind of instructions each law firm received for each year in question, what was the cost of each instruction, and what was the outcome of the instruction. It should also include instruction for a forensic investigation, a total amount of instructions and money received for each year in question, provide a copy of the procedure or policy that is used when allocating instructions to law firms, who gave instructions to which firms, where any conflict of interest declared, was the correct procedure followed when giving instructions to each firm. Who must report group head for legal and secretariat services for February 2026 MPEG meeting. Why is the report on the subject matter necessary? Identify the cost incurred by the city through the city's legal panel and the procedure that was followed. Proposed by myself, Councillor Karabo Simfeng, signed and seconded by Councillor Adriana Randall.
Thank you, Secretary of the Sisters. The report has been received. Subject of the report is how much each law firm on the city's panel received from December 2021 to December 2025. Motivation to identify how much each law firm in the city's panel would have received, type of instructions received, and the outcome of the instructions from December 2021 to December 2025. I must add that then this will come as a confidential report, isn't it?
Chair, whichever way it's fine, as long as it's here. If it's confidential or ordinary report, I don't know what information would make it confidential, Chair.
Yeah, well, you'll need to engage on it. Otherwise, you're going to get it, but you can't say certain things. So, and remember, once you also want details on what type of instructions, inevitably it makes it popular. It needs. You'll have to comply with certain elements. So it's fine.
Chair, that's in order. We can make it a confidential report. That's in order, Chair, with your guidance. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. This is proposed by Councillor Sinfing and seconded by Councillor Randall. Thank you. Oh, Secretary. The second report, let me start with Councillor Peter, unless you are commenting on this separate.
No, it's fine.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Peter.
Thank you, Chair. I'll also like to sponsor a report or call for a report. Calling for a report on the 6 bodyguards that have been allocated to the Executive Mayor in contravention of the Government Gazette of 51419 of October 2024, read together with the amendment of Gazette 53168 of 14 August 2025. The motivation for the report is to promote stringent financial management and oversight, a professional public service that promotes transparency and accountability, provision of good governance. What should be in the report? The decision which led to the allocation of 6 bodyguards to the Executive Mayor, who implemented the decision, which legislation or government gazette guided such a decision, and the additional expenditure incurred by the city on the additional bodyguards beyond what is gazetted for. And that's proposed by myself, Alderman Peter Sutton, and seconded by Councillor Rodney Mabusela. Thank you.
In the meantime, we must remember that you publicize the address of the mayor. You publicize the address of the mayor, so you put your life at risk in the meantime while you are doing that.
Okay, Secretary, please intervene.
DA.
All right, thank you very much. The report. Subject of the report is calling of the report on the 6 bodyguards allocated to the Executive Mayor in contravention with Gazette number 51419 of October 2024, read together with the amendment Gazette number 53168 of 14 August 2025. The report is called by Councillor Peter Sutton, seconded by Councillor Mabusela, 7 November 2025. Thank you. Okay, third report, Councillor Mayor.
Thank you, Chairperson. I would like to call 3 reports. Can I do them all together and then submit them to you? First report is irregularities in servitude registration and associated expenditure. The registration of servitude over portion 370 and portion 395 of the Farm Wonderboom 302JR required for RP's River Burn properties. It's an item that served in council last month, the last council meeting. The motivation, the city failed to register 2 servitudes over a 10-year period despite multiple payments and asset capitalization processes. This raises serious concerns about oversight, internal controls, and potential fruitless and wasteful expenditure. What must be reported on? I've got a lot of bullet points, but mainly oversight and accountability, financial exposure and controls, legal compliance and risk, corrective and preventative measures, and then the financial summary. We must report group property, group finance, roads and transport, legal services, internal audit, and the office of the city manager. Why is report necessary? To determine accountability for procedural failures and financial irregularities, assess legal and financial exposure, and ensure corrective and preventative measures are implemented. Proposed by myself, Councillor Meyer, and seconded by Councillor Peter Sutton, dated 7 November. Can I continue with the other 2 as well?
Proceed, in the interest of time.
The second one is the subject, actual recoveries made on council resolutions to recover IFW expenditure from officials and or external parties. Motivation: Council has previously adopted resolutions instructing the recovery of UIFW expenditure from responsible officials and or external parties. It is essential to determine whether these resolutions have been implemented, whether recoveries have been effected, and whether consequence management has been followed. This report will enable impact to assess compliance, financial recovery, and accountability. What must be reported on? A list of all council resolutions taken since 2020 that instructed recovery of UIFW expenditure from officials or external parties. And then I've broken it down for each resolution, what must be reported on. Who must report? Group Finance, Group Legal, Office of the City Manager, and Group Audit and Risk. Why must it be reported? To uphold impacts, mandate of financial oversight and consequence management, to ensure council resolutions are implemented and public funds are recovered, to expose governance failures where recoveries were not pursued or enforced, to inform future UIFW tracking, recovery strategy and accountability frameworks, and to hold officials and external parties accountable for financial misconduct. It's proposed by myself, Councillor Meyer, and seconded by Councillor Marishani. Then the third is the application and impact of differential property rates on illegal townships, including categorization by ownership, implementation status, and municipal service expenditure. Motivation: this report is called in terms of impacts oversight mandate to assess the financial and service delivery implications of differential property rates applied to illegal townships. The objective is to determine whether differential rates are being equitably applied based on property ownership categories, the current implementation status of differential rating policies, and the extent and nature of municipal expenditure on services delivered to these townships. What must be reported on? Differential rates by property ownership, implementation status, implementation mechanisms, municipal expenditure on services. In short, there are some sub-bullets. Who must report? The CFO, Executive Director, Human Settlements and Planning, Executive Director, Infrastructure and Services, the City Manager. Why is the report necessary? To uphold impacts mandate of financial oversight and consequence management, to ensure that differential rates are applied fairly and legally, to expose potential fiscal imbalances between revenue collection and service delivery, and yeah, let's keep it there. Thanks, Chairperson. Sorry, that's proposed by myself, Councillor Meyer, and seconded by Alderman Peter Sutton.
Thank you. So that's all three or two? Is it three? Okay, thank you. Thank you, colleagues. For purpose of saving time, I'll read the subjects. The first one is the application and impact of different property rates on illegal townships, including categorization by ownership, implementation status, municipal service expenditure. This is requested by Councillor P.W.W. Mayor and seconded by Councillor Peter Sutton. The second report is, the subject thereof is actual recoveries made on council resolutions to recover UIFWs from officials and or external parties. The report is from Councillor P.W.W. Mayor, seconded by Councillor Marishani. The third report in this regard is the irregularities in the servitude registration and allocation expenditure registration servitude over portion 370 and portion 395 of the farm Boom 302 JR required for Apis River Beam properties. The report was requested by Councillor P.W.W. Mayor, seconded by Councillor Peter Sutton. Right. Thank you. Is there any other councillor that would like to request a report? I think we could. So, colleagues, thank you very much. This marks the end of our open session of the meeting, and we would like the councillors to excuse themselves. We're just going to, well, not the councillors, my apology, the officials, and we're going to just approve the minutes of the confidential meeting. But yes, Councillor?
Chair, I just wanted to make sure I pulled 3 reports. I only that you read all 3.
No, I read all 3.
Okay, then.
Thanks.
Sorry. Thank you.
Right, so someone should please assist with streaming so that they can stop, and then we can just process the minutes of the last meeting for confidential minutes. Wow.